When the announcement came that Tom Cruise would be appearing on The View, the internet buzzed with anticipation. Cruise, a Hollywood legend known equally for blockbuster action films and his notoriously private personal life, was stepping into a realm known for its unpredictability and fiery panels. With Joy Behar among the hosts, ever fearless, often provocative, the stage was set. Cruise arrived looking composed in a tailored dark suit with a subdued tie. His demeanor was polite but reserved, as if aware that this wasn't the controlled environment of late-night talk. Yet as cameras rolled and the applause subsided, there was an electric tension in the studio air that said this was more than just a promotional stop. It was the beginning of something unpredictable. Something that would soon shatter expectations. Asterisk, the first questions were warm, even flattering. Sarah N. asked about his latest film, and Whoopi Goldberg complimented his decades-long dedication to craft. Cruise responded with gratitude, cracking polite jokes about stunts and aging gracefully. But when Joy Behar interjected, her tone shifted sharply. Tom, you've built an empire on dramatics, big stunts, big emotions. Yet your personal life is kept under wraps. Do you ever feel you're playing a character, even off camera? Cruise's strong jaw tightened just a fraction. For a heartbeat, no one spoke. Then Tom said, measured but firm, I don't think of my personal life as a performance. I live it, with all its flaws, joys, and struggles. Joy's eyes flickered. She smiled thinly. But who gets to decide when a character ends and a man begins? Asterisk, the sting in the question stung Cruise more than he let on. His gaze sharpened. I'm a private person, not because I'm hiding, but because I respect boundaries. Just because I'm public doesn't mean everything public must reflect me. Joy leaned forward. Boundaries are great until they become an excuse for opacity. You say you value privacy, but when the media asks tough questions, you disappear into silence. The audience shifted uneasily. Whoopi tried to soothe the moment. He's been clear, but Joy cut in again. Has he? We still have no answers about how deeply involved he is in that church that doesn't allow criticism. Is that privacy or evasion? Asterisk, that was the spark. Cruise's posture changed subtly. What had been polite, distant warmth became a lean-in. Challenge. If being private means being silent, then so be it. I answer questions that matter when I'm ready, not when someone demands spectacle. Joy's voice hardened. Answering when it's ready is fine, but refusing to be asked questions about real issues is another matter. The world deserves transparency from people we lionize. The tension was now audible. The audience across the country watched jaws tighten. Cruise closed his eyes briefly. A calm before a storm. And he opened them and cut through the tension. Transparency doesn't come with fame. It's earned through genuine engagement, not press tours or panel shows. Asterisk, Joy's response was swift, a quiet snarl. Earned. Or hidden. Why don't you ever show us the real Tom, not the movie star, not the stunt legend, but the man behind? The myth. Cruise inhaled deeply. Maybe because some people only want myth. The man I am isn't a spectacle, but a husband, father, friend. And that part of my life deserves protection. Joy shot back. But at what cost? We adore your work, but sometimes it feels like you're untouchable. Immune to questions about faith, family, even influence. Cruise frowned. No. More immune than anyone else, but I'm entitled to my dignity. If that bothers you, ask yourself why. Asterisk, the audience murmured. Whoopi interjected, her tone protective. We all want the real Tom, we get it. But some topics, Joy interrupted. Some topics are exactly what the public needs to know. When you refuse, you leave people guessing. People think secrets. People get cynical. Cruise leaned forward. Just because people speculate doesn't mean people know. The camera captured the tension lines on both faces. It wasn't just two public figures. It was two philosophies clashing. Fame as fortress versus fame as responsibility. And Cruise, towering but visibly frustrated, let the gap widen before continuing. Asterisk, then things spiraled. Joy raised her voice. What about the bridge too far? The private oaths? The The secret ceremonies? Why do you insist on secrecy that breeds conspiracy? Cruise leaned back, voice calm, but firm. That's obsession talking. Privilege isn't explanation. Curiosity isn't ownership. The studio audience recoiled. A rare moment of live television that felt raw and uncut. Sarah and Whoopi flashed. Uneasy looks. Producers behind the camera doubled over in their control room. It was no longer an interview, it was a showdown. Suddenly, Cruise stood, but didn't unclip his mic yet. Asterisk Joy, sensing victory, leaned in. You're deflecting. Tom? You've deflected on relationships, on Tomcott, on the church's practices. You walk away rather than engage. That's the real story, isn't it? Tom's calm unraveled. He closed his eyes again, then opened them with resolve. I'm not deflecting. I'm drawing a line. His voice grew sharp. Because when speculation becomes weaponized, it corrupts what's real. Joy scoffed. So don't come on shows you're not ready to answer from, Cruise exhaled. Then, with deliberate calm, he unclipped his mic. Maybe I should stop expecting people to lose their ego first. Asterisk, the studio fell to an eerie hush. Tom walked briskly toward the edge of the set. Joy sputtered for a moment, walking away again. Are you? But Cruise didn't pause. He turned to the camera, voice low but clear. To anyone watching, don't mistake silence for guilt. And don't let your curiosity become cruelty. Then he stepped off the set. The applause never came. No rise, no finale. Just a resonant silence befitting a moment more powerful than any script. Joy stared at the vacated seat. Whoopi swallowed. The show cut abruptly to commercial, a break no one wanted or expected. Tom Cruise had just walked off The View, and for once he didn't need to jump out of a plane to make an exit that took the world's breath away. Asterisk, by the time commercials ended, the internet had exploded. Clips of Cruise removing his mic and walking off trended worldwide within minutes. Hashtag Tom walks off. Hashtag silence is not guilt. And hashtag Cruise vs Behar flooded platforms. Supporters praised his dignity and boundary setting. Critics slammed him for abandoning tough questions. Fans dug up old interviews to compare his level of openness. Media pundits debated whether Cruise had avoided press accountability or stood up for privacy rights. Meanwhile, tabloid headlines spun into overdrive. Cruise storms out, hostility on daytime TV, culture clash on full display. In less time than it takes to upload a stunt video, one act of leaving had reshaped a narrative one. Camera unclicked, one mic removed, and millions left wondering who really wins when silence speaks. As social media raged, fans, celebrities, and pundits weighed in with divisive takes. Some lauded Cruise's restraint, his unwillingness to play into a spectacle, calling it a masterclass in emotional control. Others mocked him, suggesting he couldn't handle real questions and hid behind carefully curated silence. A few former co-stars, including Simon Pegg and Emily Blunt, posted subtle supportive tweets like, "Grace under fire is underrated, and privacy is not cowardice." But Joy Behar's supporters also rallied. She asked the questions we all wanted answers to, one journalist wrote. Tom may be a legend, but no one is above transparency. The divide was drawn not just between Cruise and Behar, but between two conflicting ideas of fame. In the View studio, damage control began instantly. The production team was frantically cutting clips, editing promos, and fielding calls from network executives. Joy Behar, meanwhile, sat stiffly in her chair, uncharacteristically silent. Whoopi leaned over to her, murmuring something off mic. Sarah N. looked rattled, clearly uneasy with how quickly things had escalated. When the show resumed after commercial, Joy opened with a forced laugh. Well, that was a moment, wasn't it? The audience didn't know whether to clap or stay quiet, she added. Sometimes passion meets privacy, and things go off script. Whoopi quickly pivoted to a lighthearted segment about dog costumes. But the room's atmosphere had shifted permanently. Backstage, Tom Cruise didn't speak to anyone as he exited the studio. Assistants trailed behind him, offering apologies and trying to keep up. Steps were calm but determined, his face unreadable. Security helped guide him past media vans already positioning for a story. He entered a black SUV without saying a word and shut the door. The driver glanced at him through the rearview mirror, but didn't ask questions. Cruz looked out the window, the city flashing past like a blur of noise and opinion. Inside that moving car was the only silence left in a world that was now shouting his name across headlines, hashtags, and TikTok reels. He didn't regret what he said, but he regretted where it happened.